Hello, everybody. It's your boy, Seth Jackson. He's back after like a 2-week period off. Yeah, about that. I just took a nice little vacation. Very nice. Just wanted to get away from YouTube a bit. But yeah, I'm back. And I have something that I never really done before. Well, I have. Just never worked out, but this is... Okay, so you're just wondering, what is this, right? Did you create another city? Sorta. But what I've created is, okay, so I want to just start this off. We all know that my channel revolves around, a city over there. Hi. Don't worry. I actually have a big update for that coming up next, but I just don't have the time to do it. Anyway, back to this. We all know that my channel revolves around my city, and it's a puppet, but that doesn't matter. All that matters is that, like I said, revolves around my city, Legos in general. Don't know why, but that doesn't matter. So what I've created is my city. My Lego city, what it would have looked like 4 years ago, which is when I first made a city. It was around 4, almost 5 years ago. It looks something like this. Of course, it was a little bit bigger. I did not have those gray base plates then. I only had these green and a bunch of other ones. So what I would do is that I would just use a bunch of base plates that didn't match and put them together to create a layout. Now, if you've watched some of my very early videos, you've heard me talk about about this, about what my city was, over the years. Of course, it wasn't visual, right? So, what I've done is I have done this before. Just didn't work out, but this is the first time in probably 3 years, I would say. So, what I've done is, I'm just going to say this probably again, I've recreated everything that I could remember from my very original city. Now, if you don't understand this, my city is the same exact city, pretty much. I have just changed it a lot. You could watch some of my very early videos to find that out yourselves. Please do so. They're in need of views. Not trying to force y'all or anything. Yeah, I've done it. I'm really happy. My city sure has changed a lot in 4 years. Once looked like this. Look at it now. Talking about a big difference. Now, let's get into the city a little bit. So first off, a big difference is the layout, which I kind of mentioned earlier. Much smaller. For back then, despite me not having a lot of base plates, it was pretty well sized. It was probably half of my layout now. It worked. Of course, some of my buildings were much smaller then. 2, no streets like I have, like in the layout. These buildings are randomly placed, which it was like that for my first 2 years of my city, but I actually have a early video, that talks about that a little bit more. 3rd, the buildings, they were much crazier designs. Now, I've always thought my early city had quite a futuristic look. Really wasn't my intention. It just, the design of the buildings were very sleek. For example, my tallest building, the Rhombus. I'll get to why it's called that later. I'll get some shots of it after I talk about this. My buildings were much taller back then. I mean, the Rhombus, at one time it was 3 feet tall, so maybe around, I want to to say a little over twice the height of this compared to my tallest building in my city, the gray one, which is about a foot tall. So about 3 times taller. Just absolutely amazing. Couldn't believe it held. Now, before I get into more stuff, I do need to tell y'all this. Some of this stuff is a little off, because, you know, this was 4 years ago. I don't remember a lot about it. Of course, I don't have all the buildings that I used to have. If I did, I would have to use all of my stuff from my city, which I don't want to. Crazy designs, you know, just absolutely weird. And of course, some designs that I've stuck for a very long time. I'll get to that. And for now, I'll take some shots of the city. Let's get into that, shall we? Okay, so I can't get any front shots because the camera's really close. It doesn't work. I had a little editing error. Don't ask about in the comments. So this is pretty much the best angle I can give you besides from the other side. I can't give a front one. Yeah, I'll get into the buildings right now. So the very first building we're going to talk about is the Rhombus. Probably one of the most intricate buildings I've ever designed and created. This building is in the shape of a diamond. It is used by many pieces. For example, I use 1x6, 1x2s, 1x4s, 1x3s, a lot of bricks. The design of this, it took me a few times to originally make it, but I finally got it to where it's a perfect diamond, and it's a pretty sturdy building. It's really strong until you make it 3 feet tall. I have a little story. When it was at its peak, one time I accidentally tapped, and the whole thing came down. It toppled over, like timber, like with a tree. Now where it is in the city, it's pretty much kind of where it was in the beginning. There was a little port here. This blank area went off more. Now I haven't had the Rhombus forever. When I changed my city, after the first main one, I pretty much tore it down and built a new building out of it. It was pretty tall too. So pretty much some of the original building was gone. After that, one time I did try to recreate my old city. It didn't seem right, because you can't redo something that you've done that's so great. Of course, it had been dormant for a long time after that until around 2017. In one of my cities, I kind of rebuilt it, not tall, but it was, I think, it was one of the tallest buildings in the city. It was on the north side of it, kind of away from downtown. Now, more on the diamond shape. I'll get an overhead view of it. Let's do that right now. So this is the overhead view I am talking about. As you can see, it is a perfect diamond. It's weird how you have to have it to make a diamond shape perfectly without having to make some weird, design. Now, of course, the sides aren't exactly smooth, especially with the corners. They overlap. But I always like the way it looked. Kind of gave it a trademark symbol. Yeah. So here it is, all the way down. Kind of steep, don't you think? I mean, whew. Oh man, it's hollow. No internal structures like some of my other buildings. Let me go back. Now, before I start anything else, I do want to say that... Oh, my finger. I do want to say that I have some buildings from this original city, right? That are actually in my main city over here. But I won't get them out. I think if you watch my very first Lego video, which was pretty much my second video, I talk about some of them. Yeah, so this is the Rhombus. Probably one of my favorite buildings I built. Back then I wasn't a very good building designer. Most of my buildings were actually multicolored. This one was multicolored, but here's the thing: it was split into sections, which is why it gave it so much height. The main base was white, and then there was a bunch of other colors, top, and like 5 brick tall sections. There was red, I remember there was brown, black, yellow, green, like a lime green. Ooh. And that's what gave it its height. I mean, even without it, it's still a very tall building. It's taller than any of my other buildings in my main city. I think I may have to do a part 2 on this. I mean, I'm getting a little overtime, don't you think? Okay, so we're going to go into the next building. I never had a name for it. It's this glass one. Now, let's get into it. A simple but effective design. This building, which is made out of glass panels and frames. Hey, I think I see myself. Hey, here's my hand. And glass panes. It is actually at its original height. What it used to, as tall as it was. It is a T. Not exactly. It's more of like a misshapen T. It is T-shaped, but you know what? I'll just go on and get an aerial view so I can get a better. This is the T shape I'm talking about. Like I said, it's not a perfect T. Of course, you have the here, but of course, one arm is longer than the other. Always did like that, actually, just like that. Definitely an easy to remember design. I kept many buildings I had the same design, of course, just on a much smaller scale. Now let's get back to home base, whatever is home base. Okay, so we're back. This tower is actually very strong too. It's very rigid. It's really, how would I say? It's sturdy. It won't wobble easily. Just see, it's not like one of those buildings like if you shake it like this one, it will come off. Maybe because it's not a lot of pieces. Now if you notice this white strip right in the exact middle, that is to keep these, these panels right here that make the T, supported. So they don't so they're completely straight, so they won't bend. There were a lot more those bands in between. It was a very strong building. Very skinny, right? Compared to the Rhombus. It was always one of my favorites. It's such a simple design, but it's very effective. I always will remember, this was 2015 when I still had this city. It's not a lot of time between. It's only about a year difference between when I had this city and then when I started making streets. Not a lot of time. Not about a difference. This building, I remember when the Earthquake San Andreas movie came out. I always remember. I remember one of the buildings in the movie when it collapsed in LA. I always remember. I always recreated that scene with this building. Now there's something I do want to say. That has nothing to do with this. Like many of my cities, they are the same layout, right? I had changed a lot. I went through many buildings, created buildings that were there one day and gone the next. I mean, I did much more changing my very first city than I do now. It was crazy. I mean, I remember I just made a lot of my buildings now, they're here. They've been around for a while, compared to some of these, which were only here for a few days. I mean, I changed a lot. I don't have a lot of time left. I definitely do have to make a part 2 out of this. I've always loved. Oh yes, this building a few times. It actually had a smaller twin, as you can see here. Like a little twin tower. Not really. They're not the exact size, obviously. This is 1/4 of this tower. I think it always gave it some character, kind of like a big plaza, if you would say. I guess in terms of buildings, these will be the only 2 I'll do today. I'll just talk a little bit more about some of my city. In downtown scale, I had a lot of buildings, but they weren't cramped really in together. Some of these there was a lot of space in between, kind of like space in between the rhombus and the T tower, right? Like almost like a plaza. Some of these are kind of scrunched together. Some of these buildings, they were actually in some of my boxes of Legos, just unharmed, pretty much. I mean, I had them in storage for years, and I never used them, and now's their chance to come back. I mean, like I said earlier, my designing was not really very intricate. It was kind of plain, simple. Pretty much didn't use a lot of bricks. Use less bricks to make a big building. Except this one, of course. This one is it's a lot of bricks. That's all I could say. And you know what? Really, the layout of my city itself didn't change. It stayed the exact same while some of the buildings move around. Really, this is pretty much the same thing with a lot of my cities. The bigger you are in terms of building, the more likely you're not going to get moved. I mean, I never moved the rhombus once. Of course, I moved its maybe its base plate, right? That was on with the rest over, but I never moved the building itself. I always remember that I had sort of an outskirts of my city, it definitely wasn't a whole lot, not a lot to go by, it was a small layout, and outskirts, right, was only like, from this end to this end, less tall buildings, like, different stuff. Pretty soon this has to end. This is part 1, of course. Always missed my old city. I always wish I could somehow find a way to go back to relive it again. Because I really don't remember much about it. Just remember a few things. And, I mean, it was just like it was yesterday. It was so long ago. I mean, 4 years, my city has changed a lot. Can't believe it was 4 years ago when I started city. 4 years ago. And it's amazing how many changes I went through. I mean, holy mackerel, I went through like 30 changes, pretty much, of cities. I guess maybe this one was one of the longest lasting ones. I always have wondered if how did I start the city itself? Did I start off with tall buildings? Oh, hey, guess what? It seems to me that my time is not up. I still have a lot left. So, you know what? It's not the end. So, let's get back to some of the buildings. So, we got the main 2. Some of the other ones, they're not really in a timeline scale. They're just ones that I remember that I just put in, right? So let's go to this one. It has never changed. Never has. It has been the same. It's always stayed the same since I first made it. Here's a good example of multicolored buildings. like I used to do a lot. This was a medium size. I want to say medium, it was small. Used a lot, I could say. I use these big pieces, and easiest way you can always remember this building was its front part. It had these like red and green pieces, and I always remembered that for a long time. I had the building in all my different layouts. It was always with my city until I put it away. Years ago, I would say maybe almost 2 years ago. I don't know if it's always had that police sticker piece. I think it's not new. It just, look guys, it's been such a long time. That's that building. I just want to include this one because I always remember this because it was always in a lot of my layouts. Now, let's get to the next building. So, I didn't even think it cut to edit. So, we're going to this one. This yellow one. Don't remember much about it. I just do remember having it at one point. Like I said, I changed buildings a lot. I had styles, crazy, amazing, cool. I guess my goal back then was just to reach the skies, huh? Try and make as many tall buildings as I can. So this building used 6x5 plates, and one interesting thing about this building was one part of it, instead of the plate, what I did is there's a middle, see, kind of splits off. It's a medium-sized building. It's about half of the T-tower. Yeah. So this is this building. Okay, so we're gonna go to this building. You want to hear a little cool backstory about it? I got the pieces for this building. It's only 2 pieces. I got the pieces for this building from a airplane cargo set. Big planes. The only Lego, like, large plane that I got. And of course, I got in a few Lego planes, but that was the largest of them. I eventually turned that plane into a passenger plane. I don't have it anymore. All its pieces are scattered among everything else. Now, this piece I used was from the control tower. Just these 2 pieces. And I actually have some of the pieces from it right here that I use in my city. Funny how I use parts. These glass pieces. Right, this was like the glass part of the tower, like the lookout. I need to include these in my city, but I don't think I really have the room. It's funny how a lot of these pieces from these sets end up together. Because, who knows? I have pieces in here from some of my very first Lego sets. Really, they were car sets, right? And that just brings up another crazy sign. I use those Lego car fenders for building. Oh my goodness. Crazy. Yeah, actually, you've had this building the whole forever, pretty much, since the very beginning. I really can't say that. But I can, I guess. You know what? That reminds me, are there any other buildings? Ah, yes, we have 2 more that maybe 3 I should include. Let's get on. Here are the 2 we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, this red one here, and this curved glass one here. We're going to start with the glass one. 4 total pieces. Makes a pretty nice sized building. It's kind of in the spot that it would always usually have been because it was, very close to the rhombus, but most of the time it was curved up against it, so maybe where this dark green building is, it would have been, I think I'm going to change that. Now, it hasn't stayed the same, of course, because broke off, used it for many other pieces. But I brought them back. Most of these pieces were actually in one of my brown boxes. Now let's get to this red building. I actually remember this building one time. It was actually much taller than it is now. I can say that, I'm pretty sure. Then it had these, like, pieces that go out. it was completely just like whoop whoop. It's if you notice, you see the design. It's kind of one face of it's more out than the other. You could kind of tell. I only remember one time. I'm trying using my memory as the best I could to remember some of these buildings, and of course, a lot of these, they're based off of ones I did, and that they're just random, right? Now, this TV tower is a little bit modified than what it originally was. Pretty much stayed the same. It was a little less tall. I had it for a while. I had a few of my later cities. Then it's funny. I found it in the brown box. It's like one of these old buildings, came back. The newest addition is this white antenna, as you see. So it kind of makes it taller. I kind of like that. What are the mains? Oh. What was that? Yeah. I think I'm going to talk more, maybe a little bit more backstory. I don't have the time, really, because I need to get ready and going, right? I hope you enjoyed this part 1. If you didn't, you're not cool. I'm just joking. But if you did like it, or didn't, it's okay. I don't really care. As long as you like it.